Hey everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. My name is Alyssa, and for today's super cool project, we are actually going to grow and make crystals. How amazing is that? So, before we get hands-on into making crystals out of stuff we have around the house, let's jump into some background information so we understand the process before we get started. All right, you ready? Here we go. So, we're going to need some information on how crystals are made, how we're going to grow these crystals. The type of crystals we're actually growing today are salt crystals. So let's jump into some basic definitions and then we'll go over some fun facts about crystals as well. Crystals are a type of material that are formed by patterns of repeating molecules. Solute is a substance dissolved in another substance. Saturation is the point at which a solution of a substance can dissolve no more of that substance. Nucleation is the site when an impurity is introduced into a saturated solution and the solute will begin to recrystallize around the impurity. Seed crystals are large crystals used to grow smaller crystals. Now, taking those definitions into consideration, how do crystals form? Well, crystals are formed through a process called crystallization, and they form when a liquid cools very slowly and or when water evaporates from a chemical mixture, leaving behind the solute whose molecules reform into new geometric shapes. So for our experiment, we are going to be doing the water evaporation type of crystallization. But we are going to end up heating up the liquid, and then the water evaporates is how we're going to make the crystals. Another thing about how crystals form is that they do form in nature when liquids cool and start to harden. And these certain molecules in the liquid gather together as they attempt to become stable. And they do this in a uniform and repeating pattern, which is one of the main features of a crystal. An example from nature where crystals are made is actually magma. Magma is actually used to create some diamonds, rubies, emeralds, that kind of gemware as well, which is really cool. Some unique properties of crystals. Crystals have very flat surfaces called facets. They can form geometric shapes such as triangles, rectangles, and squares. And the actual shape of the crystal is a direct result of the type of molecules and atoms that make up a crystal. So smaller and larger crystals that were formed of the same molecules and in the same method would have very similar shapes. And there are also 7 basic crystal shapes called lattices. They are called cubic, trigonal, triclinic, orthorhombic, hexagonal, tetragonal, and monoclinic. Now, you're probably wondering, well, we kind of see crystals every day, but did you know there's some crystals that we don't necessarily consider? Snowflakes are actually ice crystals that are formed high in the air in clouds when the water freezes. And something fun about snowflakes is that every snowflake has 6 sides, and every single one is unique. So every single snowflake that falls down onto Earth is different than the one that fell before it. How cool is that? Quartz crystals are used in watches and other electronics to keep an accurate time. These can also be sometimes called timing crystals, and it's actually when an electric current is sent through the crystal and they vibrate at a very precise frequency, which helps keep accurate time. Another fun thing about quartz is that it is a common mineral in crystal, and it's actually one of the hardest common minerals found on Earth. Diamonds are one of the most valuable minerals on Earth and also the hardest substance on Earth. So not only are diamonds used for very expensive jewelry, they can also be used for a lot of modern day weapons. There's something called a diamond saw, which is one of the hardest, strongest saws on the planet. Another fun thing about diamonds is that diamonds are a form of carbon. So in order for diamonds to form, there needs to be carbon in the crystallization process. Some other fun things about crystals are the science of studying crystals and how they form is called crystallography. Some crystals, such as diamonds, are really just one giant molecule made from lots of atoms of a single element. A lot of computer screens are actually liquid crystals. They use liquid crystals for their display. And there are some living organisms that can produce crystals. So, going over all of these fun things about crystals, you're probably wondering, like, oh, I have all this bunch of jewelry and all this fun stuff. This is so cool. And it is. It's super duper cool. So for the experiment, we're actually going to be making salt crystals. So the materials we're going to need for our salt crystals are Epsom salts, clean glass jars. Food coloring is an option depending if you want your crystals to be clear or if you want them to have a more fun color to them. We're going to need hot tap water. We're going to need a bowl or a glass measuring cup. We're going to need a spoon. We're going to need a couple pebbles or sand. That's going to be used for our nucleation of the experiment so our crystals have something to grow off of. A microwave is optional. I'm going to end up using my microwave just to follow the directions I have for the experiment. And we're going to need the freezer and the refrigerator in order to grow and make our crystals. All right. Now that we've gone over some fun facts about crystals and we are about to gather all of our materials, let's get started and jump into making some crystals. Ready? Here we go. Hey guys, alright, so I am in my kitchen. I have gathered all of my materials to get started on our salt experiment. Now, before we jump into our experiment, make sure you double check with mom and dad that it's okay you're doing this experiment and have them jump along and do the experiment with us. I'm sure they would love to see how crystals are grown too. Now, I'm going to end up doing 2 different crystal gardens. I have already put 1 cup of the Epsom salt in a glass jar. I'm going to do my second one right now. And then for this experiment to work, we need to do a 1-to-1 ratio. So the glass jars I'm using are mason jars. It's just what I have on hand in my house. So I am going to add a cup of my Epsom salt into my second glass jar. And then I am going to do one first, and then I'll do the second one. Kind of see the results, because I'm going to do one with food coloring, and then I'm going to do one with one just by itself. So I'll have clear crystals, and then I'll have clear crystals, and then I'll have maybe some blue purple crystals as well. All right. Slowly get in my cup of Epsom salt. Oops, a little too much. All right, so once you have that, I'm going to add that into my jar. All right, so I have my Epsom salts ready to go. I'm going to do warm tap water. I'm going to fill it up to a cup, and then I'm going to put it in the microwave for 45 seconds. So the directions I was reading through what I found, they said they had great results putting it into the microwave for 45 seconds, just because you need the temperature of the water quite hot so it can saturate the salt in it. All right, I'm going to put my cup of water in the microwave. Put it in for 45 seconds. And if you are going to end up using the microwave instead of doing super hot tap water, please be careful taking it out of the microwave. Have mom and dad take it out of the microwave if you're nervous about it. So once we pull this out, I'll add my food coloring in first. So I'm going to get that ready. I'm going to add 1 drop of blue and 1 drop of red, just because purple is one of my favorite colors, and I think purple crystals look cool. Once we have pulled out our water and we have added the food coloring, we are then going to take our spoon And then we are going to end up mixing the warm water with the food coloring or just plain warm water. Once we add it in here, we're going to be mixing it for 1 to 2 minutes. And it's very important we do it for the full 1 to 2 minutes because we want to get as much of the salt saturated in with the water so we get the best results. All right, so I have my water. I'm going to quickly add, 2 drops of blue, 1 drop of red. I'm going to mix this very quickly so we get a purple color. All right. And mine's actually going to be probably a little foamier than yours might be. I ended up using some Epsom bath salt, so it's actually going to have a little bit more soap residue in it. So we're going to find out together if I made the right call or if I made a giant mistake not using plain Epsom salt. All right. So we are going to mix this in here. All right. And we are going to start our 2-minute timer right now. So you're going to sit with me as I stir this for 2 minutes. And we're going to just mix. Try and get as much of it saturated as possible. So with this, we're just trying to get all the salt kind of in with the water. So once it starts doing the evaporation process, which will start happening once we put it in our fridge and refrigerator. In the freezer, I forgot about that. Freezer actually had better results. So once we have stirred this, I think we got probably just under a minute to go. And we're just mixing. Sorry for checking my watch, guys. All right, so that, I believe, is just about 2 minutes. I'm going to pull my spoon out. After I have mixing it, I'm going to add my pebble or my rock. I just found these outside my house. I am going to drop it in so it has an impurity to start crystallizing. I'm going to put my cover on. And then I'm going to throw this guy into the freezer for 10 minutes. And once it hits that 10 minutes, then I'm going to move it into the fridge. And then that is when we play the waiting game to see how everything goes. All right. So that has started going. All right, now we're going to jump into our second one. And again, just going to do the same process again. I'm going to add a cup of hot water. So I'm going to get tap water, throw it in the microwave for 45 seconds, put it back in the cup, stir for 2 minutes, and then throw it in the freezer for 10 minutes, switch to the fridge, and then we play the waiting game. Alright, so as I get my second one started, go ahead, follow along with these instructions. I'm going to probably have these wait. I'm probably going to do mine on the shorter end. I'm probably going to wait maybe 3 hours because I read in the directions that I could have some crystals, so you guys will get to see a little bit of the results. But the longer you can keep it in the fridge, so if you can keep it in for 24 hours, maybe you even want to wait 2 days. That seems so long to wait. To see what kind of crystals you're going to get and how many you're going to get. So the longer you can wait and be patient, the better your crystal results are going to be. All right, so I'm going to finish up my second crystallization jar. I'm going to get it in the freezer to get it started, and then I will see you in a little bit for when my results are done. Hey everyone! So, I have pulled my crystals out of the fridge. It has just been about 24 hours since I put them in the fridge. So, let's take a look at my results and see if I was able to grow any crystals. So, looking at my blue one, it did not look like there was any crystals forming. And it doesn't even look like it's didn't look, or maybe there is. I could try dumping. I shouldn't have shook this. Because it still looks like everything's down on the bottom. So maybe there are a couple crystals. Let's see if we can see any in this one. So again, this one doesn't look like there's too much. Though coming over here, I do see one crystal coming off of my rock right there. I can't tell if the bottom is all crystallized either, or if that's just the salt particles that didn't evaporate. Whoops, there we are. So there's one little teeny tiny crystal on that. So, what were your results like? Did you have a lot better results than I did? I think I might not have used hot enough water from the tap and then from the microwave. I also might not have used the right Epsom salt, which could have been why I don't have very many crystals forming. But I would love to hear your feedback. Did you enjoy growing these crystals overnight? Were you patient enough to wait 24 hours? Or did you pull them out earlier to check to see what kind of crystals had grown overnight? All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this experiment. If this is something else you'd like to learn more about or get more information, or maybe we try again in another video, let me know. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys!